Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar entitled Mobile and Contactless Payments. We've got a really terrific agenda for you this morning, and we're really looking forward to covering a lot of ground. The webinar is going to be exactly 30 minutes, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. And here is that agenda. We're going to introduce ourselves as presenters, define what we're talking about in terms of mobile and contactless payments, and emotional strategies, which are very much tied into this topic. Discussed and of the webinar, we will be sending out the slides and a recording link so that you can see a product management here at WAND. I've been in the tech business a long time.
Chuck, my name is Nate Hubert, and I am a senior product manager here at WAND Corporation. I have a background in internet security and PCI compliance. My favorite dessert is cheesecake, apparently.
So this is not an ad for WAND by any means. We're really going to talk about some meaty material here. But just to tell you where WAND is coming from, we are 100% restaurant, and we are focused on great technology. We only serve multi-unit QSR and fast casual restaurants, and we've got three distinct major product lines: our digital menu boards, point of sale systems, and the back office systems. And we are really about operate how they delivered those goals. Concept.
Sure. Yeah, before we get using here, the first is we're going to refer to contactless payments. And by contactless payments, we're referring to the in-store payment using digital wallets, using devices such as your smartphone or smartwatch or even smart cards. When you think of contactless, you might think of Apple Pay, Android Pay, Samsung Pay, applications such as that, or often also referred to as tap-and-go type of technologies. In addition, we're also going to talk about mobile payments. So this is about order ahead type of applications, typically linked with mobile ordering, and we'll get into how that also linked with loyalty at times. So this is going to be when you pay ahead of time, and we're going to use these terms here, and we're going to jump around a bit here. So with that, still are the top 4 benefits of implementing. The first benefit we see is an opportunity to increase speed of service. So one of the advantages of contactless payments is that the transactions are typically faster than the traditional methods. If you think of cash payments where you have to pull out your wallet, you have to hand cash over to the cashier, and they have to produce change, a lot of different friction points there. Traditional credit card usage, either you hand over a card to be swiped by the cashier, or you use that credit card yourself and with interacting with the terminal, entering your PIN, dipping a card in the case of chip cards. A lot of friction points there. The advantage of contactless is that you don't have those friction points. You have your smartphone typically, which is already in your hand, which you can present to a reader, and that's it. So the transactions can be very quick. You don't need to fumble around with your wallet or credit cards. or cash even. This can be particularly beneficial in the EMV world. So if you have already deployed EMV, the ability to accept chip and PIN cards, or that you're thinking about doing so, the reality is that often those type of transactions are much slower. So we have all these consumers now that are getting chip and PIN cards that don't necessarily know how to use it. So they may be fumbling around with the terminal, having to dip their card, leave the card in place the entire time. You often see employees helping out consumers. So those transactions can take longer. Contactless is an opportunity to regain some of that loss in speed of service. Contactless, again, are much faster, and those same type of payment terminals that are used for chip and PIN cards can often accept contactless. We'll talk about that more here in a little bit. Another benefit is the opportunity to improve the security of the credit card information that flows through your restaurant. So in general, contactless payments use a very similar technology to what the chip cards are using, in that it produces dynamically a transactional data that's only good for that single transaction. So if there was a breach into your restaurant and some of that information was stolen, it's for the most part useless to hackers because it's only relevant for that particular transaction. So you definitely get a security benefit here above the traditional magnetic stripe credit cards. You know, the consumer is also protected from the mobile application. I mean, a lot of these different digital wallets have things like biometric or PIN authentication. A lot of them have features to disable the mobile app or the mobile device altogether if in case it was stolen or lost. So all that helps to ensure that stolen devices aren't used fraudulently within restaurants. And lastly, there is also an opportunity here if you're deploying a new payment solution that has contactless capabilities to deploy it in a way that helps to limit the exposure of credit card data within your environment. So from a point of sale perspective, we call this putting your POS in a payment unaware state. With this kind of implementation, the POS only interacts with the terminal to transfer a payment amount and approval status, never actually touches the full credit card data. So there's opportunity there to reduce some PCI scope to make it easier and definitely have a more secure environment. Another benefit, and one that's often overlooked, is the potential to attract more affluent customers, or along these lines to attract younger customers that might be able to build brand adoption at an earlier stage. So really what we're talking about here is to appeal to that group of consumers that are the early adopters of technology, that love the latest gadgets, the ones that are security conscious, even to the point where they may be willing to walk away from a transaction if they are forced to hand over a credit card because they understand the security implications of doing so these days. This group might either have higher disposable income, or they might be the millennials and Gen Zers that are technology lovers and just have the latest gadgets. So there's opportunity to appeal to this group, take advantage of a group that's also more likely to share their experience via social media as well. And lastly, we want to talk a little bit about the benefit of mobile marketing. Now, Chuck here in a minute is going to talk a lot more about mobile promotional strategies here, but you know, at this point, you know, I just want to point out that it can be very powerful to you know, to have a mobile solution that integrates mobile ordering, mobile payment, and loyalty in one solution. So we're certainly seeing trends for brands to build their own mobile app that has loyalty built in, mobile ordering, and payment, allows them to get super personalized with their marketing campaigns. So gives them the ability to create messaging specific to the buying behaviors of each customer. And Chuck's going to touch on that here in a second. So that's really what we see as the top benefits as it concerns to restaurants, ability to increase speed of service, improve your data security, attract affluent customers, and provide mobile marketing opportunities.
Awesome, thank you, Nate. So let's talk through a few promotional strategies on the mobile side of things. it's such a great opportunity. Mobile obviously is booming. Everybody's got a smartphone these days. Adoption is growing. Everybody, I think some people a few years ago thought apps were a fad, but boy, are they not. Seems like every week a new restaurant is coming out with a new app. Starbucks just made a big splash with their mobile ordering app, and we'll talk about a few other examples here shortly. So the first thing is loyalty. Loyalty is about identifying, rewarding, and retaining your best customers. And, we've come a long way from punch cards at the sandwich shop with loyalty. Remember, this is for your most profitable customers. These are the people that come every day. The goal is to reinforce that behavior. The action is to reward them for frequency or engagement. And, in fact, you can make them earn it these days. We'll talk a little bit about that. The most popular programs are to collect points and then give these people a reward. And the timing is everything on these type of loyalty programs. But the key is that you're interacting with them and you're engaging them with the brand. The fact is that loyalty cards that go on your keychain or that go in your wallet, only 26% of those are ever registered with an email address, and only 18% of them are still active 6 months later, according to a recent study. So it's really, really different when you integrate loyalty with your mobile app. Then you've got their information. You can in-app message them on their phone, and you can get them to act. You can hit them, at 11 o'clock in the morning and get them to come in for lunch. So that's what it's all about. Digital coupons, similarly, are way more effective when they're integrated with the mobile app. And they're also great when you've got people's email address. This really is about acquisition. This isn't for the person who's a total fan of your restaurant and is coming in daily or every couple of days or at least weekly. The goal here is to incentivize them to visit and buy, provide a digital coupon for download to the mobile device, whether they have your app or not. Again, this is you want to have a strategy associated with this to acquire their email address. And the most popular coupons today are dollars off, % off, buy one, get one, and really anything free attached to buying something else. Most effective way to do this is to share on social network, there acquire their email, and then start making offers. Very cool. A big new trend in the restaurant industry is gamification, and this is both for people who are engaged and for passive customers you want to make loyal. You want to get them to visit the restaurant more, and so you provide them with an in-store reward for games completed. So really, really awesome example of this is Firehouse Subs did this Blaze Hopper game. And every boss's nightmare is that their employees are going to be sitting there, from 10 to noon playing a game, trying to get a free sub, but the restaurant loves it, right? So it's really, really cool. People love easy to play, mindless games, and you're not giving the sub away for them playing the game for 2 hours. You're giving them a discount that's enough to get them to come into the store, and you're keeping them engaged with the brand and really getting them hooked. It's a lot of fun, and it generates a lot of buzz. I mean, Firehouse marketing is just accelerating. They've done a really good job. So another really, really popular strategy is badging and trophies, and I think the greatest example of this, even before they launched their new app, was Starbucks. Starbucks has had this rewards program for several years. They just implemented order and pay in the last couple of months really broadly. And so this is for the customers who frequent your establishment the most. I'm completely hooked on, in addition to ice cream, on Starbucks coffee, so I go there every day. I love the order ahead. It's really cool. I can do it when I'm leaving my gym, and the drinks are waiting for me when I get there. But I also like getting the free drinks. I mean, it's great. They've certainly, they have a very well-developed strategy on this. Badging and trophies for actions completed. Originally, you got a point for every drink you bought. Now they've segued into a drink, one bonus star per order, and then they've nuanced it by giving away reward points for special bonus reward points, like 4 if you buy a sandwich at lunch, because they want you to go there for lunch, not just go there for a coffee first thing in the morning. So there's a lot of really great strategies you can implement in terms of badging. Most effective way to do this, obviously, is key milestones. Give away, you want to achieve a certain behavior, you give away something very valuable to the customer, and they will not forget. They will come and visit and be very delighted. So to recap the promotional strategies, loyalty programs for customers who are already engaged, to keep them engaged and increase their frequency, digital coupons for those who are not fans of your brand yet and who you want to make loyal, gamification techniques for both of them, really, and badging and trophies also work primarily for the most loyal, but they can also be an incentive to increase frequency of people who aren't quite as engaged. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nate again to talk about technology options for the restaurant.
Excellent, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, so we're going to do a kind of a high-level survey of some of the technology options available to implement contactless and mobile payments, and we'll talk a little bit of some of the strategies that go along with this. So first, we're going to kind of get the lay of land of contactless payments. What are the hardware options available to implement this type of solution? It really starts, at the most basic level is with the payment terminal. So contactless requires payment terminals that can support NFC type of technology with contactless technology. Typically, these terminals are going to support all the different payment types. You're going to be able to support the traditional credit card, magnetic stripe. You're going to be able to support the new chip and pin, EMV, and it's also going to have the ability then to support contactless as well. So if you've already deployed an EMV capable solution, most likely the terminals you put in place also support contactless. If you haven't already but are looking at doing the EMV, then you certainly just want to make sure that you have terminals that support contactless as well. Most of them do. The most traditional ones are the stationary devices like we have on the slide here, the ones that are usually mounted customer facing in each payment lane. These customers are going to interact directly with the devices. No more are you handing over payment to the cashier in most cases. So again, contactless, you're just going to present your mobile device, your smart card, your smartwatch to the reader itself. POS integration is typically pretty straightforward. These are going to connect to your registers in each payment lane. You're just going to want to make sure that you are purchasing payment terminals that are supported by your particular point of sale. So drive-thrus are going to use very similar technology. The devices, however, will probably be a little different. For the first part, they won't be mounted devices. The devices are actually going to be handed over to the consumer through the window to complete payments. We see this in a couple of different ways. One is using a smaller form payment terminal, like the one pictured here, which is actually handed over, and the customer in their vehicle will complete the transaction either using their mobile phone or using a credit card. Use of mounting brackets or what we call terminals on a stick, where you have some sort of extension that the cashier will use to present the terminal. And kind of a meet in the middle approach. So both of those type of methods work in the drive-thru. You also have things like, some have a tether to secure the device, make sure no one drives off with it, and different types of handheld brackets. So But the technology is the same. It's going to integrate to your POS the same way. It's going to be plugged in using a cord, which in the drive-thru will obviously be a longer cord. And lastly, there's also wireless handheld options. So these types of options are great for table service. You want to accept payment right at the table, or if you want to do some sort of line busting where you're taking orders in a line or even out in the drive-thru taking orders. So these type of technologies are handheld devices, usually paired with another mobile device using Bluetooth. It takes advantage of cellular network to process transactions, so they can go wherever your employees go to take payments. A couple things to keep in mind here is just that the POS integration is going to vary. Often there's not direct POS integration because it's not on the same network as your point of sale. So that's something to keep in mind, but it gives you a lot of flexibility to bring payments to wherever your customers are at. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is some of the strategies available to deliver mobile payments and mobile order, so we can do order ahead type of capabilities. The first case, and one of the more popular, is to build your own app. A lot of benefits in doing this. I mean, the big thing is you get the opportunity to combine mobile ordering, mobile payments, and your loyalty programs all into one app. So you can customize the experience. As Chuck said, you can do things like gamification in there. So a lot of things, and Starbucks is a great example of that. But the negative of this is it can be very costly, especially if you don't already have an in-house development team. So if you have to look to hire developers or to hire an outside firm to help you, it can be expensive and take a while to roll out. Another method you can use is to create a mobile version of your website or create a mobile website. So this can be a faster way to get mobile ordering and mobile payment solution in place. Typically, mobile websites are easier to develop than building a native app. It's very common to see brands first deploy a mobile version of their website, do mobile ordering, and then deliver an app later. The downside of this is that you're not going to get the same level of interactive experience as you would through a native app. So you may be limited on some things that you can do in the realm of like gamification, for example. And apps are typically more popular and are more convenient as you don't have to open up a browser on your mobile device. Another option is to use a service provider like Grubhub or Eat24. These are providers that already have a mobile payment app. You basically join their restaurant network, and so any consumers that are using these apps then can have access to place orders and make payments ahead of time for your establishment. So this is a relatively inexpensive option, very easy to get started on. The downside of this option is you're not going to have the ability to customize it to the point that you would if you were to develop your own app. You're going to have a very similar experience as everybody else that's using the app. You maybe do some limited rebranding. You're probably not going to be able to do any loyalty, or if there is loyalty capabilities, you're stuck using whatever loyalty is built in that app. And again, you're not going to be able to customize the experience. And lastly, there might be an opportunity to work with your point-of-sale provider. So your point-of-sale provider might already have an out-of-the-box mobile app that you can use that can be branded and can be available to your customers to do mobile ordering and mobile payments. They also might have the toolkits and the resources available to help you get started building your own app and to give you a lot of the foundation that you don't have to build from scratch. So a lot of opportunities to work at point of sale potentially. Again, though, you might be stuck using kind of an out-of-the-box solution that's going to have limited customization that you wouldn't get if you build it from scratch. All right, so just to recap here, just kind of doing a high-level survey of the technology and strategies here. From a contactless payment, you have the various payment terminals that are going to fit your different scenarios, be it if it's a front counter or be it a drive-through scenario, or if you're doing table service and line busting, you're going to have those different technologies. a lot of different ways to get mobile ordering and mobile payments. You build your own app, build a mobile website, use a third-party service provider, or work with your POS to see what options you have available through them.
Cool. Thank you, Nate. That was excellent. And let's just briefly talk about what's next. I mean, it's mobile, mobile, and more mobile. This mobile thing is bigger than anybody ever thought. I read a thing this morning that Apple Watch has sold more than 7 million instances. That was analyst estimate, but it's got to be. You see people, more and more people with it all the time. Google also has smartwatches. You can make transactions with those too, and people that have those devices they're a little bit fanatical about using them. EMV and the liability shift, it is upon us, and I think a lot of restaurants are taking a wait-and-see attitude, but it really is about preventing breaches. It's not so much about credit card fraud and counterfeiting of credit cards, which it does completely prevent. It's really about hackers breaking into your POS system or your back office systems. And nobody wants to be that restaurant that has that issue. So putting in EMV, the credit card providers have also done an enormous, created an enormous PR campaign to get consumers to know what's going on out there with this. People are going to want it to be there, and it will slow down your speed of service in your restaurant. So mobile payments, order ahead and pay, and contactless in the store, those things are going to give you back the speed of service and maybe even make it faster than it is today with just swiping cards. It probably will. So there's going to be more and more new developments all the time. Really exciting stuff. So with that, let's recap the webinar, and we'll open up for questions. Don't get caught up in the cool factor. This is all very practical stuff that you can implement today. Strategize and figure out what's best for your brand. Focus on increasing loyalty and sales with the right demographics, with the right audiences. Get the right technology for your concept. Widespread adoption is coming soon. Again, more and more people introducing mobile and contactless technologies every day. So we've only got a few minutes left. Here are some of the cute dogs that join us here at Wand on Fridays for Bring Your Dog to Work Day. With that, let's open it up to some questions. Just type it into the GoToWebinar panel. And if we don't get to your questions now, we've only got a couple of minutes left. We'll go ahead and answer your questions by email after the webinar, so don't hesitate to type it in. In fact, we'll keep the webinar up for a couple of minutes after the hour as well, after we finish here in about 3 minutes. So, oh great, I see a question right off the bat. The question is, how do I set up with my payment processor to work with both of these? What do I need to take into consideration? Nate, you want to answer that?
Sure. So, so certainly contactless and mobile payments is gaining popularity, but so the reality is that not all processors support contactless yet, and even if they do, they might not support all the major methods. So they may support Apple Pay, but not Android Pay or Samsung Pay. So it's certainly necessary to contact your processor to understand, what type of options they support today. I think the good news is that most of the major processors today support some form of contactless and are going to be able to have methods to handling mobile orders as well, and certainly into the future, you can expect widespread adoption. But I guess the point here is that you're definitely going to want to talk with your processor, make sure that they support what you want to do here.
Excellent, thank you. Hey, here's another great question. Are mobile and contactless payments worth the effort? It doesn't seem like many people use them. I know I use Apple Pay every day, but I'm a tech nerd. So what do you think, Nate?
Yeah, so, certainly, this is the trend. This is where the market's going. So it may be a lot of work here, but at the end of the day, consumers are going to expect this type of technology in the near future. So even if you know, even if you don't have the, like in the case of EMV, the liability concerns, or you know, or maybe you don't even have the security concerns today. At the end of the day, the consumers today are being educated in this technology, all the latest gadgets supported, and you know, they're going to be expecting this type of technology in the future. So I think you're going to best be to get on board sooner than later.
Definitely, I agree. Well, that's all we have time for. It is 11 o'clock. We promised that we would end right on time. Again, give us your questions. And here's my contact information and Nate's contact information here at WAND Corporation. Give us, send us a note. Give us a ping. We'd be happy to work with you on these topics. And thanks again for attending today. Really great turnout, and we'll look forward to you joining us for our next webinar. Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Chuck.